What's going on, guys? Clint here, and in this video we're going to be building a Next.js application styled with Tailwind CSS. So this is going to be a very beginner-friendly project. If you're just learning Next.js, it's going to be perfect for you. So a couple of the benefits Next.js offers is lazy loading images. It offers a built-in image component that we're going to take advantage of. Also, it has a built-in routing system, so we're not going to have to deal with React Router DOM or any of that. So let me just give you a quick example. Basically, it's a photography portfolio website here. And notice we have a nice parallax scrolling effect here on our home screen. And then this image slider here is something that we're going to be building from scratch using the image component. So all of these images are lazy loaded, which lazy loading just means the images will not be loaded until they're inside of the viewport of the screen for what you can see in the browser here. Then a nice little Instagram component down here with a nice hover effect. We are going to be using a smooth scrolling fix. So you can notice we scroll down here, and also notice our nav bar is going to change colors whenever we scroll. So we're also going to be using, like I said, with our route system here, we're going to be passing through props for our hero component here. So you notice we now change to the work route here, then also the contact route as well with a nice contact form down here. So like I said, we're going to be building all of this from scratch, styled with Tailwind CSS. So if you're ready to get started, let's jump in. So what I'm going to do first here is just shrink that down, and let's go ahead and create our Next.js application. So I'm going to say yarn create next-app, and I want to install it in this current directory. So I'm just going to place a period right there. Now, what I want to use, I'm actually going to be using a font called Railway, and there's a special way we have to import fonts into Next.js to avoid any errors. So let's go ahead and go over to fonts.google.com. I'm just going to grab over my font, and this is actually the one I want to use right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy that link that we're going to import here. And let's go ahead and just start our server, or start our development server over here. And that's going to start for localhost 3001 for me. So notice we have, this is just our boilerplate application, the create next app here. And inside of our pages folder here, notice these are the pages we use on the left here. And all we have to do to create a new route is just create a new page in our pages folder. And then we're also going to create components folder, and we'll use this public folder as well. So inside here, notice this index.js, they have a head component, and you may think that you can just go ahead and paste over this information in here inside of the header component, which I'll go ahead and do. But I'm going to show you what we're going to run into over here first. Zoom out just a bit here, and I'm going to change this up so we can have a better view. There we go. So inside here, let's go ahead, and it looks like we're getting some errors. Just wants us to close off these tags here. Go. So this should be all we need to do. Let's go into our styles here, and I'm going to change the styles from this Apple system to Railway. And this is going to work. As you notice, it changes our font now to the Railway font. However, if we inspect this, you're going to get an error here in the console, and it'll likely be an error when you go to build your project and deploy it to the web as well. So what it's saying is do not add style sheets using the next head. Instead, view this documentation here. So let's cruise over and see what it means. Basically, it wants us to create this file right here, _document.js, and we can add in all of our code that will be used throughout the whole site in this area right here. And what we can use in the head of our individual pages, we can basically reserve this for like titles and some other metadata like so. But any type of linking style sheets, we're going to want to place those in this document right here that we're about to create. So let's go ahead and do that right now. And basically just wants us to use that. I'm going to leave that there for now. Let's create our page here, and basically just wants us to use this code right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy that. And what it's saying over here is to create the page, just says _document.js, and we can just go ahead and paste that in there just like so. Now, what I'm going to do is come back over here and just cut that out. And then I'm going to paste it right in here. Let's go ahead and give it a quick save. I want this word wrap. There we go. One of my viewers told me about that the other day, and it has been a lifesaver there. So now let's go ahead and check our application here. And you can notice we still have the font, and now we have gotten rid of any of the errors you might see. So now that we have that out the way, what I want to do next is go ahead, I just closed my application there. What I want to do next is go ahead and install Tailwind CSS. So let's go over to tailwindcss.com. We're going to click on the Get Started link here. We're going to click on the Frameworks Guide, and we're using Next.js. So first it wants us to create the app. We've already done that. Next, we have to install Tailwind. So what I'm going to do here, I'm using Yarn. If you're using NPM, just copy that entire line there. And we're going to go ahead and close that. So what we need to do next here, I'm going to go ahead and close my server. And I'm going to go ahead and say yarn add, and then just paste that in there. Then the next step is to add in this npx tailwind init-p. And that's very important. It's going to give us this tailwind.config file over here on the left. And we're going to use that right now because the next step is to copy this information right here, this pages and components, and put that inside of our content array like so. So go ahead and save that. And then the final step is just to add this to our global styles. So I'm just going to copy that. We're done with the Tailwind config. Now in here in our global styles, we're going to delete all of this. We'll come back and add some fonts here or a few things here in a minute. And what I want to add here, let's go ahead and do it right now. Just say HTML. And what I want to say is scroll behavior. I'm going to set that smooth. Then also I'm going to go ahead and set my font with font family here. And like I said, we're going to be using a Railway just like so. And it's always a good idea, just go ahead and give a secondary font just in case the browser does not support that. So we can delete this home.modules. We're going to go ahead and just clean up a few of the files that we're not going to be using. So let's delete that. Now inside of our pages folder, what I want you to do is delete this API folder. We're not going to be using anything in there for this project here. And that's going to be all we need to do for now. So next, let's go ahead and start our server and just make sure that our that Tailwind CSS is up and running properly here. So let's go ahead and delete a few things. It's going to give us some errors, and that's because it's looking for some things in here that we just deleted. So I'm going to grab this main right here, and basically everything down here, including the footer, I'm just going to go ahead and delete because we want to start from scratch in a completely blank application here. And notice this head, you guys, this is imported from Next.js here. So we can actually just change our title here. We're going to say photography next app, just like that. And now you can notice, let's see here, we're getting an error here, which we're not using that. We're importing this here and we're not using it. So let's go ahead and delete that. So, oh, and we left one thing there. Now that should take care of any errors we're having. And if you notice, our photography next app is now in the title here. So next, what I want to do is let's go ahead and build out this hero component right there. So let's come back over here and we're going to create a components folder here. I'm going to create a new component folder called components. Now inside of this components folder, we're going to create a, this is where all our components are going to live. And let's go ahead and create our main component. I'm going to call it hero.jsx. So I'm going to go ahead and say RAFCE. That's going to generate our functional component here for us. And I'm going to go ahead and add this to our index.js file. That's going to go ahead and auto import for us here. So inside of our hero component, it's going to be a very simple component. And what we're going to be using, we're going to use this on multiple pages. So we're going to use it on our home page. We're also going to use it on our like demonstrated work page, as well as a contact page. And what we're going to do is just pass in properties. So we don't have, so everything's going to be dynamic. So one of the great things that we can do in React.js and Next. So what I want you to do, we're going to start off with a div here, and then we're also going to have what's here an overlay. And this div right here is going to be an overlay. And this can actually just be a self-closing div here. And we're going to come back and style everything. We're going to fill in all the HTML and then come back and add our Tailwind in here. So after that, we're going to have another div in here, and we're going to have an H2. And right now I'm going to say, I'm just going to say something like this heading, and then we'll come back and pass through our properties there. Then after that H2, we're going to have a P tag, and this is just going to say message. And again, we're going to come back and fix all of that here later. Then a button that says book. So that's all we have right there. And notice, you guys, if you're new to Tailwind CSS, notice even though that we have an H2, it still looks like a normal P tag. And that's what Tailwind does. It basically applies all these baseline styles. And what it does is just add a lot of room for customization on our end. So one little thing I want to show you guys real quick is a plugin that I'm using. So if you go down to your plugins, it's called Tailwind IntelliSense. And basically, I'll show you what it does, but whenever we hover over our Tailwind styles, it gives us recommendations and lets us know what it is. So very, very powerful and helpful if you're just starting to learn Tailwind CSS, you guys. I use it all the time, and this is what it is right there. So I'd recommend going ahead and installing that. So let's go ahead and add some styles to this here. We're going to turn, just with our Tailwind, we're going to turn this into this right here, this background. So, and just also, you guys, we're going to be pulling in some images from Unsplash. So we'll get to that here in just a moment. That's where we're going to grab our background. So right here for this top class name, we're going to say is flex here, and then we're going to say items center, and then justify center. And this is the same as saying display flex. Item center is going to be aligned, and that's the IntelliSense right there. It's the same as saying align items to the center. And all we have to do is just hover, and it tells us what it is exactly. And so we're also going to say H screen, and this is going to say, this is the same as saying height of 100 viewport heights there. And then we'll say margin bottom 12, and then see BG fixed, and then BG center, BG cover, just like so. And then also we would have a custom image, and this is the only custom CSS that we're going to be adding in here. So what I want to do is just go ahead and go over to Unsplash, and I'm going to find this image that I was just using. And let's see here. I might not be able to find the exact one that I'm using here. I think this is it right here. Yep, that's going to be the one. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and right click and click this copy image address, just like so. And so this, notice we added this custom image here is the only class name that's not affiliated with Tailwind CSS. And so how we're going to do that is just go into our global styles here, and I'm just going to add it right here. Is going to be fine. This custom image, just like that. And all we're going to say is this is going to be our background image, that, and then we'll just say URL. And this is the only image that we're going to post in that we're not going to be using the lazy loading that Next.js offers. So that's all we need to do. We'll leave the Unsplash open right there. So that's all we need to do. Perfect. And it has our, notice it has our text here in the middle. So let's go ahead and close this global styles, and let's finish styling this thing out here. Word wrap to stay going on there. So let's go ahead and add our overlay. So we have a nice dark overlay on it. So we go ahead and give this a class name. And for our overlay, like I said, it's going to be a self-closing div here. And let's just say absolute. We're going to say top 0, left, go right 0, bottom 0. Oops. Then I'm going to say BG black. And then all we have to do is put a slash there, and it lets us add an opacity to it. So I'm just going to say 70, and I think that's going to be good. And I'm just going to say Z. So this is adding a Z index here. And what we can do, this is the IntelliSense working again here. And if I don't want to go up this high, what I can do is actually just use some brackets here and add in a custom index there, or a custom value there. So I'm going to say 2 in there, and that's going to be all we need to do, like right there. And then next here, what I want to do is add in our, we're going to style our div that surrounds our text right here. So this right here, what we're going to say, give this class name, say P-5, and that's just giving a little bit of padding around it here. And we're going to say text white. I'm going to say Z, and then that 2 again, so it just sticks out on top. Then I'm going to say margin left. So I want to pull it off the screen a little bit. Margin left, I'm going to say -10 rem. And then also on the margin top, I'm going to say -10 rem as well. And that's going to kind of place it right there where I want it. Now for this heading, let's go ahead and add some styles to our heading tag there. And for this, I'm going to say text 5XL. And what that's going to do, if you hover over it, it's going to make it really big. 3 rem is what that is going to be. So then let's also say font bold, just like so. Okay, there, perfect. And then for our message here, let me give this a class name, EY5, just to give a little bit of padding in there. And I'll say text XL, and that's going to just bump it up just a tad there. Now for our button, I'm going to say PX8 to give it some padding, and then PY we'll say 2, border, and then border, and that's all we need to do there. Perfect. That is looking good right there. So that is it, you guys. We're now done with our hero. So we're going to come back and actually pass through some properties here. So let's go ahead and go ahead and give that a quick save, and let's go ahead and take care of that right now. So inside of our index right here, this is our home page image here. And what I want to pass through here from our home page, we can say whatever we like, but what I want to say here for heading, right, is I'm going to call this heading, and then I'm just going to say capture photography, just like that, just the name of our brand there. And then what I'm going to say here next, I'm just going to copy that right there for our message. And this is how we pass down properties in React and Next.js. So for message, we're just going to put that in a string. I capture moments in nature and keep them alive. So now we're passing down a header and we're passing down an image to this component right here, to the hero component. But what we need to do to come in here in our hero component, and what you can say is we're going to go ahead and just keep this destructured. Instead of saying props, all we have to say is take in the heading and also message, just like so. Then in here, we can just say heading, just like that, just bringing it in from right there. And now we can just do the same for message, like so. And just please note it is case sensitive, you guys. So now we're bringing in properties that we're passing down from our index component here. So that is looking great, you guys. Next, what I want to go ahead and do is our Navbar component. So let's go ahead and create a new component in here, create a new file. I'm going to call this navbar.jsx. You can say JS or JSX, you guys. I use JSX because it allows me to use the shortcuts when in my HTML element. So that's what we're doing right there, RAFCE. And you guys, if you're wondering, that shortcut I use, the RAFCE, that is the React Redux ES7 snippets plugin. So, and you can just use shortcuts like that to generate your functional components, class components, or whatever you use. If anybody's ever using class components anymore. So for our navbar, we're going to do a few things here. We're also going to be using React icons, which we'll install in here in a moment. So for our navbar, we're going to have an outer div here. Then we're going to have another div in here. This is going to be our H1, and I'm just going to say capture because this is going to be our little logo text there. And then also we're going to have an order list here, and then li. And let's go ahead and import. We're going to be using our links. So let's go ahead and just add that real quick. So what we're going to say is link here, and this is offered to us. This link component is offered to us from Next.js. So what we'll say is link href, and I'm just going to surround my my H1 logo there because I want that to, whenever we click logo, head us back to the home page. So, and this is how we use the Next.js link. Make sure that it's imported there, and then we'll just throw this H1 inside like so. And then same thing for this li. I'm going to do the same thing, link href, just like that. And I'm going to make this one to the home page. We'll just say home like that. Now I'm going to copy this down a few times here. So we're also going to have a, say, gallery, and this is going to smooth scroll to our image slider that we're going to build. I'm going to say work here to display a few images. Then also we'll have our contact page. So we'll go ahead and link these accordingly here. I'll say portfolio, that. And this one is going to be, we're going to be using smooth scrolling. So I'm just going to say, I'm just going to scroll to that ID that we're going to come back and create here in a little bit. So don't worry about that right now. And you guys, let's go ahead and add in our navbar component so we can actually view it. And we're not going to add it to our index file here. We're actually going to add it to our app because we want our header to display on all screens, on all routes, not just that main route. So what we want to do is, you'll notice that our return component here, it doesn't have any parentheses or anything, and that's fine because we're just returning a single component. However, we want to add in the navbar. So what we need to do here is go ahead and add in our parentheses there. And we're going to just drop this down just a little bit. And we also have to wrap everything. And in this case, I'm going to wrap it with a fragment, just like so. So let's go ahead and throw that inside there. And let's import our navbar, just like so. Go ahead and hit save. And now you can see it. We have our navbar here at built in here. So let's go ahead and close the app.js. We're done with that now. Excuse me. And we'll go ahead and finish building out our we're going to go ahead and finish and building out our navbar here. So we're already done here building out the main part. Let's go ahead and, excuse me, we want to make this mobile friendly. So we're going to add in our React icons and also a mobile menu. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my other little terminal here, and I want to install yarn add React-icons, and we're going to be using a couple icons from React icons, and so to act as our hamburger menu and also our closing icon. So once you have those, let's go ahead and import those. We're going to do that by saying import. Then we have to put this in curly brackets. We're going to be using AI outline menu and AI outline close, just like that. We're going to import these from React-icons. Then just go ahead and say /AI, because this is the folder, this is the directory of these specific icons. So now that we're done with that there, let's go ahead and actually add in our mobile button and where our drop downs go. So we're going to go just below this UI here. Excuse me. We'll say mobile button. And in here, I'm setting up a div here. And we'll say AI outline menu, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and give a size property here. This is just a size property that React icon offers us. And I'm just going to say 20 for now. And you can see it showing up right there. So perfect there. Now, underneath here is actually where we're going to have our mobile menu itself. And this is just going to be a side drawer that we're going to hide off the screen, and it's just going to slide in from the left here, and it's going to take up the full screen. So inside here, I'm just going to say we're going to have a div there. Then inside here, we're going to have an ordered list, then an li here, and let's go ahead and just let's actually just go ahead and copy this whole unordered list and everything just to make it easy. Go ahead and paste that in there like so. That is perfect. Now that's going to be all we need to do for now. Let's come back and let's go back and style this thing from the start here, from the very top, and then we're going to come back and add in the responsiveness. For here, this class name here, what we want to say is, excuse me, I want to say fixed. We say left 0, top 0, and we want this to remain at the top of the page no matter what. So that's why we're saying fixed here. We want the width to be full. I'm going to say Z10 for our index. Ease in and out, then let's say a duration of 300. And while we're adding this in here is we're just adding this ease in and the duration for whenever we start to change our color out of our background whenever we scroll. So you can already see it's stuck to the top of our page there. That's perfect. Now I want this to sit inside of a container. So I'm going to say max width of, I'm going to use my brackets here, 1240 pixels here. I'm going to say margin auto, just like so. I want this to be flexed and then justify between, okay? And then items center, we're gonna give a little bit of padding, and then we're just gonna have text white for all of our text here. This will make all of our text and our nav bar gonna be white there, so perfect. And of course, it's looking pretty funny here. I want this word wrap to stay on. There we go, it's easier for you guys to see. So I want this, I can zoom in a little bit for you guys. I want this mobile menu, this to be hidden off the screen, and we're going to add in some media queries here as well. So, excuse me, I like losing my voice. So next, let's go ahead and style this H1, which is going to be our kind of like our logo there. So for the H1, we're just going to increase the size a little bit. I'm just going to say font bold and then text 4XL just to bump that up a little bit, and that's perfect right there. And for our unordered list here, we want this to be flex, because we want it to display horizontally there, just like so. And we're actually going to say we want this to be hidden, then anything above the small breakpoint, which I believe is 640 pixels, we want it to display flex. And Tailwind is what you call a mobile first design approach. So whatever styles we add in are actually going to be applied to the smallest breakpoint. Then we have to specify if we want to make any media queries, we have to specify the breakpoint in which we want to do so. And that's all we have to do. This is all we have to do to add in a media query. SM for small, MD for medium. And you'll see right here, the minimum breakpoint is 600, or for small is 640 pixels. So once we streak down a little bit more, you'll see that should display, it goes to hidden. So perfect. So let's go ahead and do basically the opposite let's add in our list items for now, and then we'll come back and do the same opposite thing for our menu there. So I'm just going to go ahead and hold down this option button, and what that does is allow me to select multiple lines to add multiple lines of code here and just save a little bit of time. So for our list items, all we're going to say here is P-4, and that's going to be all we need there. Perfect. Now for our mobile button here, let me give this a class name. And for the mobile button, we want it to, anything above small, we want it to display block. Otherwise, it's going to be hidden. So, or sorry, I have that the other way around here. Anything above small is going to be hidden. Otherwise, it's just going to be displayed block there. So you see that disappears. And then now for our mobile menu here, what we actually want to do here is actually add in, for our mobile menu, what we're going to do here is hide it off of the screen. And real quick, I just want to give this a, this right here, I'm going to give it a Z10 because I want it to display on top of our side menu here. So for our mobile menu here, let's go ahead and style that. And what we're going to say here, class name. Now, I don't want the menu display at all above small devices. So I'm going to start it off with anything above small. We want it to be hidden. Otherwise, it's going to be absolute top 0, left 0, right 0, bottom 0. And I want this to display flex, justify center, item center, just like so, and then width, full, and height of screen, just like so. And that's going to be what we need right there. And what we need to do, I'm going to add in a few more things here. I want the background, say BG black. I want the text to be center. And I know it's hiding you guys, but I'm going to show you where it went here in just a moment. And then I want to say ease in, and then also a duration of, we'll say 300, which should be good there. So go ahead and give that a save. And right now it is hidden, but if we go ahead and just remove that, it should be what our, close, what should be what we're looking at right now. So flex, looks like I just left something out. Justify, center, item center, perfect. And that's what we want right there. So before I go ahead and add in that small hidden media query, let's go ahead and style this thing a little bit more. So for our list items down here, we're going to do the same thing here. Add in some styles. There we go. So what we're going to say, class name, and for this, we want to say P-4. I'm going to say text 4XL, so it's a little bit larger. And then on hover, this is a hover selector. I'll say text gray 500. So whenever we hover, you have this nice back there. Perfect. But let's go ahead and paste that back in because we don't want it to display until we click on our menu button. So let's go ahead and add in some functionality to make this thing responsive whenever we click on our mobile button, and we'll have a look at it in like a mobile view there. So right now it's displaying all the time on mobile devices, and we do not want that. So we're going to do that with state. So let's come up here to the top, and let's just go ahead and import the use state hook, just like so. Now we're going to add our state right here, and what I'm going to say, const, doesn't really matter what you can say. We're going to put this in some brackets here. Let's say nav, and set nav is usually what I say here, equal to use state, and we're going to give it a default value of false. And then we're going to have a function here, and I'm going to just be an arrow function here. I'm going to call it handle nav, just like so. Not passing anything in, but whenever we run this function, we just want to update our state here, change our state to the opposite there. Okay, so from false to true is what we're going to be saying. Now, let's go down here. That's all we need to do there. Let's come down here for our mobile button here. And what we can say here, I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And so notice our menu button is displaying right there, and we actually want it to be an X. We're going to use the AI outline close whenever our menu is open. So go ahead and cut that. And what I'm going to do is open up our curly brackets here so we can type some JavaScript. And we're just going to use a ternary operator here. So we're just checking if nav is true, which right now it is default false. So what I want to say is AI, we'll say outline close, just like that. And this is going to be that size property again of 20. So if it's true, we want to display that. Else, if it's false, we're going to display the menu. So let's go ahead and nav is true, AI outline close. Okay, so that is perfect right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and close this side one up, just give it some more space. And so right now everything is false here. That's looking good. And what we want to do next here, checking this here. What we want to do next is let's come down here to our actual mobile menu here. And what I want you to do is actually select all of this, because we're actually going to use the same thing for our class name in here for our mobile menu. And let's open up our curly brackets here, and we're going to do the same thing. If nav is true, I'm going to paste this in here. Else, I'm going to paste that in as well. So go ahead and save that. So if it is true, we want it displayed on the screen. Else, if it's not true, what we're going to say, this left here, instead of left 0, we're going to open up our curly brackets. And I'm going to say negative 100%. And what that's going to do is just hide it off of the screen there. Ooh. All right, there we go. So it looks like our margins off here. You know, I think it was looking good on larger devices, but let's go back into our hero here. And I'm just going to remove this margin left there. I think that'll be all we need. Yeah, so that looks a lot better, you guys. So one more thing, whenever we scroll on our navbar, what we want to do is actually change the background of our navbar. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So let's come back into our navbar component here. And how we're going to do that here is we're just going to use a, we're going to set up a little use effect here and actually add in some more state. So let's go ahead and our next state, I'm going to say const, and I'm going to have a color and set color. And this is going to be equal to use state. And I'm going to set this by default, going to be transparent there. And then let's bring that down one more time, and we'll say set text color, and set text color. And this one by default, I'm just going to say white. So let's go in here and add in, let's go ahead and actually add down here. So for our this first div up here, what I'm going to do is actually add in a style, and I'll just add it right here. So I'm going to add in some styling just like that. And this is some inline styling, but for here, we're going to say color. Okay. Or sorry, it's going to be a background color. And we're just going to use template literal here. Okay. So we have to add in our backticks, just like so. And this is going to be the color here, right here at the top. So this is going to be that state there. Like I left it out there. There we go. Perfect. And like I said, nothing's going to change right now until we actually add in our use effect hook to trigger all the changes here. So next, what we're going to do is the same thing here for our H1, and I'm just going to say style, just like that. And instead of background color, this one's just going to be color, just like so. Let's add in backticks, and then our template literal here, and this is going to be text color, just like so. And let's go ahead and I'm just going to copy that, because I'm going to paste this in a couple more places. We're going to use that on our list, and then as well as we're going to use it on our mobile menu as well. So let's add it in on our icon. Go, add it in this one as well. And we're also want to set this on our unordered list there. Let's go ahead and run this thing to make sure it's working properly. So what we're going to do is add in a use effect here. So we're going to do that right here. Say use effect. Now go ahead and you want to make sure this doesn't look like it's going to be imported. So let's just go ahead and do that. Use effect, just like so. And here we go. Let's be an arrow function in there. Now in here, what we want to say is const, and this is going to be the name of our function here. I'm going to say change color, just like that. And it's going to be our and in here, what we're going to do, we're going to check to see if window scroll y is greater than or equal to 90. What we want to do is just set the color, okay? And this is basically our background color, and I'm going to set this to all white, because we want the navbar to change to white. And since our text is actually white, we want to actually change our text to black. So we'll say set text color, and we're going to set that to black. There we go. And then we'll just say else. We'll leave color. Else we'll just set color. So this is going to be whenever it goes back, it doesn't just stay that way. So else, if we're underneath this 90 pixels, it's just going to go back to transparent. And then same for the set text color. We just want that to go back to white. So let's have a look here. And we also, I almost forgot, you guys. So inside of our function here, or inside of our use effect, what we're going to say is window.add event listener. And what we're looking here for is the scroll. And every time we hit this event listener, we sort of run our change color function. So, and we can go ahead and add our dependency array here inside of our use effect. Perfect there. So that's going to be all we need to do there. Looks like we're getting an error here in our use effect here. Let's see. Use effect. Or something. Use effects defined multiple times. Oh, add something in here. Yeah, this right there, I just imported that on accident. So go ahead and just delete that. We'll give it a refresh. I'm not sure if we actually have. Let's go into our, damn it. Let's go into our hero here. And I'm going to say, see there. I just want to see, okay, there we go. I just wanted to add some margin to make sure we can actually scroll enough to see that effect. And let's check our mobile. Hey, there we go. But it looks like our we want this to remain white all the time. So let's go back to our navbar here. And so for our navbar, we probably just need to add color. Let's have a look for our event listener. Okay, I think that's going to be okay. Everything is working properly, you guys. So let's go ahead and come back to our hero here, and I'm just going to change that back to margin bottom 12. Go, perfect. All right, you guys. So next, what we want to do here, let's look at what we're doing next. So down here, what we can do is, I'm going to take this off here. What we're going to do next is this gallery. Let's go ahead and build out our image slider that is right below our hero component here. So let's go ahead and open up our sign menu here, and we're going to create a new component here. I'm going to call it slider.jsx. And also, you guys, what I'm going to add is a new file called slider data. This is going to just be a JS file. And actually what I'm going to do is just copy it over, but basically it's just like a JSON format here, and just export const slider data. And now we're going to have access to all these images. Basically, it's just an array of, I'm using 5 different images in here. And all I did to get the images, again, I went and grabbed the images, copy image address there, and then just pasted them in here like so. So, if you want to use that, I'll go ahead and just kind of make sure you get the right format here. So you can use whatever images you like. Also, whenever I'm done with this, I'll put a link to my GitHub down in the description below. So if you want to use these exact images, that's cool too. So now that we have those, we're going to say RAFCE, and this is just going to be for our slider here. Now, the first thing what we're going to do is actually bring in our slider data actually here. Or, let's go ahead and on our index, let's add in our slider, just like so. And let's bring the data in here, and then we can just pass them through here. So what we're going to say here is import, and what we're looking for in here is that we're going to bring in the slider data. So what we can say here is import, and we're looking for slider data, just like that. Perfect. It's going to go ahead and auto import it, and we're just going to pass that down in here. So what I'm going to say is slides is going to be our property there. And then we'll just pass down the slider data, just like so. So now all we need to do is go ahead and basically just accept those here at the top. So in on side of our slider here, we can just bring that in here. And what we're going to bring it in as is just slides, as that's what we're passing it down as. Okay. And so in here, let's go ahead and build this out. So first of all, we want to give this an ID, right? Because we're going to be using the smooth scrolling. So let's go ahead and give this an ID. I'm just going to say a gallery because that's what we said before there. So next, after this div, I want to have an H1. I'm just going to say a gallery in here. Let's see what we're doing. There we go. Oh, looks like we're getting some. This is inside our index.js. Looks like we just need to import our slider component. There we go. That'll get rid of our errors. So here you can see down here, the bottom is going to be our data here. So next, okay, so we have the gallery. Now, next, what we're going to have is another div here. And we're going to have let's go ahead and map through our data here. So we're going to say, we'll say slider data, and let's go ahead and we're going to bring this in here as well. So so slider data dot map, and what we're going to do is just map through all of our things here. We're going to just map through, and we'll just say slide here, and then give it an index, just like so here. And let's just map through these to be we'll say return, and let's just go ahead and return. For now, I'm just going to use an image component here like this. Source, and in here we'll say slide.image. Let's just give it an alt tag, just like that. This can be self-closing there. So we're going to come back and update this to the Next.js image component here in a minute. But right now, as you can see, boom, we're now mapping through. If you did this correctly with your slider data here, you're now going to be able to map through all of the images that we have here. So that's what we need to do there. Perfect. So once we're mapping through these, few things, let's go ahead and kind of change this over to the image component that Next.js offers us. So we'll say image, and something to note when you're using the image component in Next.js, you get this error here. You have to define the width and height if the images are not locally stored within your project. So in this case, we are using an external link because we did the copy address. So what we have to do is add in a width and height, or add the layout fill, which displays 100% of the width and height of the parent component here. So let's go ahead and add in a width and height. So for this, I'm going to say width, and in this case, I'm going to say 1440, and that's going to be pixels. And our height here is going to be, if I can spell it right, height is going to be 600, just like so. And I'm going to say object fit is going to be cover equal to cover, and what that's going to do is just maintain the aspect ratio. So you notice we see another error here, and that's because whenever we use externally imported images like we are doing, you actually have to add these to like an allow in your Next.js configure. So let's go ahead and copy this, and it tells us right here it is not configured under images. So go ahead and copy that, and let's go over to our next.config file here. And then just right in here, what we're going to say, we're going to put in, we can remove that and just use like our curly brackets here, and we'll say images, okay, just like that. Then domains, and this is going to be in an array here, and we can just paste this inside of quotes here. And if you pull from another website as well, you can actually add in another website here. So, but in this case, I think I'm only going to use images from Unsplash. And what we need to do, it actually says you need to restart the server. Whenever you make changes to your next.config file, you have to restart the server. Otherwise, you're just going to run into some errors there. So let's go ahead and restart, and we should still see our images here with no. Hey, there you go. So now we're mapping through our images, and notice these are being lazy loaded there. So they're not being loaded until we enter in the viewport screen. So we know our image component is working properly. So let's close that. We're done with that there. And was it failed to fetch localhost? What's going on there? Go ahead and not sure what that error is there. That's okay. There we go. Yeah, sometimes just need to restart. So sorry, not sure what was going on there, but it looks like it's all cleared up now. So a few things. So what we want to do with these. I think these errors will go away after we add in some more of our logic here. So right now we're just mapping through our data, right? So we want to add a few things here, and we actually don't want to display all of these. We only want to display one at a time. So let's go ahead and add some extra things here. So what we want to say here, instead of this image, we're actually going to surround everything in a div, just like that. There we go. I'm going to make a little space here, and for this image here, I'm just going to copy that, and I'm just going to move it up within there. Perfect. Go ahead and give it a save. Now for this div here, I'm going to give it a class name, okay? And what are we going to do? We're going to add in some state here. We're going to add in some state, and also if we go ahead and give this index, you can say key index right there. Otherwise, we're going to get some errors there, so that should clear that up. So let's go ahead and add in our state, and we're going to have a couple functions here, so we can go to the next slide and go to the previous slide here as well. So we'll say const, and we'll say current and set current, just like that, equal to use state, and I'm going to set this to 0 by default here. Next, I'm going to say const length there equal to it's going to be slides.length, and this is going to get the current length of the slides. So it looks like we need to just import this use state hook there. Boom, there we go. Perfect. And sometimes it does that, you guys. Sorry, it didn't import. Sometimes it does not import the right thing, or the thing I wanted to import. So that's looking good there. And next, let's go ahead and create our functions here to toggle through the slides. So I'm going to have a const next slide, just like that. And it's just going to be an arrow function. And then say, let's go ahead and say set current, right? So set current here, and it's going to be current equal to length minus 1 there. It's going to use a ternary operator, 0 or current plus 1. And I'll come back and show you here in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and copy this down here. And this one is actually going to be, we'll say, previous slide there. And for this one, what we're going to say, if current is equal to the 0, what we want to do is length minus 1, otherwise current minus 1. Excuse me. And then we're also going to add in a little if statement here. If array.isArray slides here, or use it for slides.length to 0, what we're going to do is return, and I can't type today, return, going on, it's going crazy, return null. There we go. Go ahead and give that a save, and let's add in our buttons here so we can actually toggle through or have something to click to get through our images here. So where we're going to add those is inside this div, but outside of the image component here. So for this here, let's go ahead and add in this class name, and then we'll add in everything else. And for the class name, we use a ternary operator again. So go ahead and open up the curly brackets. And what we're going to say, if index equal to current, just like that. Okay, if that's true, what we're going to set is opacity, and we'll just say 1. Go. Ease in, and duration, we'll say duration, make it 1,000, so it's a little bit longer there. Else, what we'll say is just opacity 0. Go ahead and give that a save. Perfect. So that right now it's hiding all these others. All the others opacity is 0. So they're there, we just can't see them right now. And so and then we have our index in here. So after that, what we want to say for this image component here, I'm just going to go ahead and copy that. Okay. Actually, let's just go ahead and cut. And what we're going to say is open up our curly brackets here. We'll say if index equal to current, then we're going to go ahead and display that in here. Okay. Give that a save. And what that's going to do is just hide all of the other, if we're not on the current slide, it's going to hide all the other ones. It's going to give an opacity of 0. It's just going to hide it off the screen. So it's not going to display it at all. So now what we need to do, finally, let's add in our buttons here. And we're going to do that right here. We're going to have a button here. And this is just going to be a React icon. We've already installed the packages. So what I'm going to say is for this icon, we can use, I'm going to say FA arrow circle left, just like that. And let's just give this a size property of 50. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. So we need to import it. So import from React icons. Instead of the AI package, this is going to be the FA package, just that little pretext right there. So go ahead and give that a save. And oh, there it is. Perfect, perfect. And next we're going to do, let's just go ahead and copy that one. Let's give it some class names first before we copy it so we can copy over those class names. And what we want to say for this one, we want it to display absolute, I'm going to say top 50%, and this will get us pretty close to where we want it to be. I'm going to say left, open up our brackets here, and I'll say 30 pixels, just like so. Text, white, and if we give 70, that's going to give us a little bit of opacity there. We'll say cursor pointer, and select none, and then give it a Z index of, I'm going to say 2. And so go ahead and let's give that a save here. And I want to move this app. Really wish that would stay on, you guys. That would help out a lot. So let's go ahead and copy that. And we're going to paste the other one at the end of the div here. But instead of FA circle left, this one's going to be FA circle right. There we go. And instead of the left here, we want it to display on the right. And let's go ahead and need to make sure this one imports. Let's just go ahead and import that, clear up any errors. Let's give it a refresh. Good, no errors here. It's not where we want it to be though, however, and that's okay. We just need to add in some class names. We're gonna have to add in a relative here, and we'll put that around, let's just put it right here. We'll surround this with a div. Give this a class name of relative, flex, justify. Now let's just select this one all the way to the end of that one. We'll just go up, and that should be all we need to do. So let's see if these, we need to add an on click there. So we'll do that here in a minute. Let's go ahead and add that right now. So for this circle on the left, we'll say on click, and every time we click this, we want to run the, so this one's going to be the previous slide because this one's on the left. So we'll say prev slide, and then our circle button on the right here, we'll say on click, and on this one, we want to run the next. It's like that. So let's have a look, and hey, there you go. Our slider is working properly. I do, however, probably want to add some more styling in here. So let's go up here to the top, and for our, if we open this up, I definitely want to add in some styling here. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So for the parent div of this component here, where the gallery says gallery, we're going to say class name, and we're going to give this a max width of 1240 pixels, and we'll say MX auto, just like that. Now for the gallery here, give it a class name. It's going to be text 2XL, font bold, and we'll say text center. There it is, looking good there. Perfect, perfect. And I'll just say P or to give it some padding. Now this parent div here, this parent div, let's see here. We can actually, let's just get rid of this div. We don't need that. Perfect. I added in an extra div there. I just noticed. So that is looking good. Let's go ahead and save. I think that is looking good right there. Perfect. So that's going to be all we need to do. I don't think we need any additional styling. Let's go ahead and open this up and just make sure it's displaying properly. There. Hey, there we go. Perfect. So that is looking good, you guys. We can now navigate to the next slide, and it should just start over there. So everything is looking perfect. Right. So, actually, it's kind of, notice it's adding in some funky stuff there. Let's have a look. Let's have a look what it's doing. So, you know what? Let's move this outside of that right there. I think that's going to be the trick there to fix it. And so let's go ahead and drop this down a bit. Oh, and see if that makes any difference. All right, there we go. Perfect. That's what we want right there, you guys. Everything's looking good. Perfect, perfect. All right, you guys. So smash that like button if you feel like you're getting some value out of that. I would appreciate it. And next, let's go on to that little like Instagram component there that we're going to add into the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and add in a new file. It's going to call it Instagram.jsx, just like that. REFCE. It's going to get our functional component. And then I'm going to add another one because we're just going to go and say in Instagram g.jsx. And basically, we're just going to be using kind of destructure it a little bit and kind of just make it a little bit nicer and a little bit cleaner. So for now, like I said, we're going to use Instagram, and then we'll come back and do the Instagram image. So for the Instagram one, what we're going to do is actually bring in some images. And what I'm going to do is actually just copy them over. And if you want to download them, that's cool as well. Like I said, I'm going to put them inside this public folder here. So I have 6 images I'm going to bring in here, and I'm putting them right inside the public folder. Like I said, I'm going to put the link in my GitHub, or to my GitHub, in the description below if you want to grab those. And basically, the reason why I'm using statically imported images opposed to the externally imported images, I just want to show you both ways that we can use the image component. So ig-image-1.jpg, that's what that one's going to be called there. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and copy these over in here. So I'm just going to import them here at the top, just like so. All right, and then for this here, I'm going to go ahead and just create REFCE so I can import that one as well. We'll do that here in a minute here. So let's go ahead and style this thing out here. So what we want to have here is going to be very easy here. So we have this outer div here. Then we're going to have a p tag, and it's just going to say, follow me on Instagram. There we go. And another little p tag in here, and it's just going to be that at capture, like a little business name there. And then in here, we're going to have a div, and within here, we're going to have the Instagram image. There we go. Perfect. Now, that's all we need to do here. So let's go ahead and I want to import this here. There we go. And now if we look over here, we should see, oh, okay, we're getting some imported. So, okay, one little issue, you guys, here. So when I built the project, I put them in like a social folder, and I just put this in the assets folder. So what we can do is get rid of that, and that should clear up any. So public assets, there we go. So can't resolve. Let's see, make sure this is in here. So public assets, we're going outside of this into the public folder. Oh, I didn't use the assets either, so that's cool. We don't really need to for this tutorial there, so don't worry about that. All we can do is just delete this as well, and that will get rid of any errors we have. There we go. Okay, so let's make sure. Okay, there we have our Instagram down there. Perfect. And this is all our Instagram image there. And what we can say here, let's go into our Instagram image here, and we're going to add in a few things in here. So let's go ahead and say what we're going to have here is that actual image component. Let's make sure we import that from Next.js here. And our source here, we're going to be passing in social img. We'll come back and I'll show you. We're going to have some errors here in the meantime, but we'll go ahead and say that right there. So let's go ahead and pass these down so we can actually get around these errors here. And for right here, what we're going to say is just social image, and this is just passing down the property. So we'll have ig img1. That should take care of any of the errors there. So social img is not defined, so we just need to go in here and bring that in. Social. Okay, perfect. Get rid of those errors, and there you see we have our image there. So let's go ahead and bring in the rest there. So, and that, just to make it easy, we'll style this one, and then we can move on from there. So we have our image there, and then I want to have a div, because whenever we hover over this, we want that little overlay with a little Instagram being in the middle. So this div right here can actually just be, this is going to be our overlay. So let's make a note there for our overlay. And then we're going to have a p tag, and it's just going to say FA Instagram. Perfect. It went ahead and auto imported it for us. And let's just go ahead and give this a size property of 30. So starting with our styling here, I know you can't really see anything. There's our image. We want to display right there in the middle with a nice overlay. So let's give this a class name here, and we'll just say relative. There we go. And for our image, we do want to add a couple things here. What I'm going to say is class name width full, age full, and then our layout we're going to set to responsive there. Okay. And for this div, this is going to be our overlay. So we'll say absolute is going to be top 0, left 0, right 0, bottom 0. And for the hover, let's say hover selector, we'll say BG. Okay. Let's see how that, I think that's going to be okay. Might want to go a little bit lighter. Let's say 50. Okay, perfect. So everything is looking good there. What we do need to add is what's called a, well, let's see here. I think that might be all we need to add. We'll check there in a minute. So for this p tag, what we're going to say here is, or actually we need to add in here first, if we want to display on the screen, flex, justify, center, and then also items. And it's going to put us right here in the middle of the screen. So for our p tag, the class name, we'll say text, a 300, hidden, and then group, hover, block. So this is how we group things in Tailwind. We're going to add it in up here, group. So basically this is saying whenever we hover, we want it to display in the middle of the screen. So we have flex, justify center, item center, absolute, top 0, left 0, right 0, bottom 0, hover, hover, BG black, and we're grouping everything. Then we're just going to say in here it is hidden, and then group dash hover. We want to display block text, text 300. Then we have our, go ahead and save this. It is inside there. Perfect. So let's go ahead and I'm going to open this up here and add in our, what we're going to do next is actually add in some styling for the, all the other images here. So let's go ahead and do that next here. And what we're going to do, we're using grid. And like I said, we're going to be using 6 images here. So for this outer div, let's go ahead and give this class name max width. We'll say 1240 pixels, just like that. We'll say MX auto text center, just like that. And we'll say PY24, just to give it some nice padding here. So this is going to be text to Excel, font, bold, just like that. And then this one here, class name, we'll say padding on the bottom of 4. Then here's where we're going to display grid. And we want to say grid, or sorry, anything, we'll say grid, columns 2 by default. Then anything above medium, we're going to say grid, columns, and we'll say 3. Then anything above large, let's say grid, columns 6, and we'll give it a gap of 2, and then p dash. So as you can see, we're on that medium breakpoint, so it's displaying 3, and then as we get up larger, it's going to be 6. However, we're only passing in one image right now, so let's go ahead and take care of that. We also need to add in our image is not showing up, so we'll go ahead and tackle that here in just a minute. But let's go ahead and pass down our other images here. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 there. And all we need to do is just change the numbers. And we're going to be passing through all different images. There we go. So now we have all different images, and whenever we hover on them, you can tell they are being lazy loaded. So that's perfect right there, you guys. So one thing, our icon's not showing, and I just made a little mistake here. Inside of our Instagram IMG here, actually made this a self-closing tag, which doesn't make any sense if we're trying to add something inside of it. So yeah, sorry about that there. So all we need to do is that, and that should take care of the errors there. So now if we hover, we now see our Instagram image there in the middle. So everything's looking great now, you guys. This is perfect. Let's move on. So next, so we have our smooth scrolling is already working properly. There we go. And this is because we added the ID of our gallery there. So next, let's add in some routes for our work and also contact. Right now, we're getting an error 404, page not found. So let's go ahead and take care of that next. So all we have to do, like I said before, to add a new page in Next.js, we simply just create a new file inside of our pages folder here. So I'm going to create one that says, we'll say work.jsx, okay? And I'm going to say RFCE, get our component there. And then also let's create another one that says contact .jsx and RFCE, that'll get our contact there. So now let's go ahead and click work. So as you can see, let's see here. Well, I routed that to portfolio. So let's go in and let's go to our navbar. I'm just going to change. We'll say work, just like that. I just changed the route in which it directs us to. So let's check that again and work. There we go. That's perfect. And you can see we need to pass through our hero components. So let's go ahead and do that next. So let's go into our, close the nav bar. I'm gonna leave that nav open. We're gonna come back to it. I just forgot something real quick. So inside of our, inside of our work, let's go ahead and cruise over to the work here. So what we want to do here, we have our nav bars being imported. In fact, if we use a really cool tool here called Pesticide, you can see it outlines all of the HTML elements on our screen. You can see it outlines our nav bar. So we know it's there, just all white. So what we can do is actually add in our hero here. So there's a hero, just like that, okay? And we need to make sure that imports. Now, what we want to do here is actually pass in our properties here. So remember, we had a heading, right? And for our heading, it's going to be a string here. For our heading, what we can say is we can say whatever we want here. But for this case, where we're going to say, I'm going to say my work, just like that, work. Boom, there we go. And for the message, I'll say this is some of my recent work traveling. Go. And it should pass in our message. Perfect. So what I want to do next is actually add in just some images down here, like on the work section here, to add in some images. So let's go ahead and do that right now. And I'm going to add a new file inside of our components folder. I'm just going to call it portfolio. Sorry, this needs to be capitalized here. I want that common naming convention there. Portfolio.jsx RAFCE is going to get our functional component here. Now, let's go ahead and add a few things here. So we're going to have our div here, and then we're going to have an H1, and this is just going to say, we'll say travel photos, just like that there. And then we'll have a div, and then another div here. And then inside here, we're going to actually have our images. So this is going to be our first image, and these are going to be externally imported images here. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that in there. I'm going to go ahead and give it a save. And let's use this word wrap there, okay? And I'm going to give it an alt like that. Now, I'm just using a random image I'm pulling over from Unsplash. Like I said, feel free to use your own. If you want to use mine as well, that's cool too. I'll put a link in the description. So I want this layout to be responsive. And again, since I'm going to go back over here, we're going to get an error since we are pulling it in externally. We haven't loaded this to our work yet here. So we add in our portfolio. We're going to get an error because we're not importing, or we're not defining the width and height of that, the width and height of the image here. So we need to import this image component as well. Boom. So now you're going to get the width and height error. Go, there it is. So for this one here, width, I'm going to say this one's going to be 677, and we'll say height. Now that doesn't mean it'll always be this height and width. Since we added in the layout responsive, it's gonna it'll be responsive to our viewport here. So boom, there we go, and there it is, lazy loaded. Perfect. Now for our next image here, and for our next image, I'm surrounding all of these in a div here. So this one is going to be, I'm going to go ahead and give this class name width full, just so I can kind of keep a note here. So for this one image, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy over this source as well. Boom, we go ahead and save that. And let's go ahead for this one. This is the next image. All of these following images, we're going to have 4 more images, including this one. And all of the width and height of these will be the same. So I'll say 215 for the width. Then the height is going to be 217, just like that. And you want this layout to be responsive. Then also we're going to have an object fit cover, so everything is because we want everything to be maintain the aspect ratio there. So okay, There we go. Perfect. Perfect. So what I'm going to do next is just this div here. So we're having 4 of these, right? So I'm going to copy this down, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm just going to go ahead and paste over the different URLs that we're going to be using here. So feel free to copy them, or if you want to use your own, that's cool too. So I'm going to paste one in there, and this next one here, I'm going to paste this one there. Sorry, just bear with me, you guys. And this one in here finally. So go ahead and paste this one in here. There we go. Go ahead and paste, give it a save, and let's see how that's working. So we should be loading our other images there. There we go. Perfect. So now all we need to do is add in our styling here. So for our styling here, let's start at the top here, and we're going to say give our container here with a max width of, we'll say 1240 pixels, and say MX auto, just like we're doing. PY16, just give it a little padding, and then we'll say text center. And for this H1, let's give it a font bold and then text to XL. Give it up a little bit there. Perfect. Now, let's just say P4 as well. So for next here, for this div here, what I want to say is give this a class name. And this is going to be the grid for all of our images below. And what we want to have here, if we open this up, it's going to be shrunken down. So it's going to have five columns here, and this first image is going to display 3 rows and 3 columns. So let's go ahead and say grid here, and what we're going to say grid rows none, anything above medium we want it to say grid columns 5, and then we'll say P-4 and anything above medium 4, just like so. Perfect. That's looking good. There we go. Now let's go into this first div that's around our first image, the parent div on that one. And what we're going to say here is width full, H full, and then we're going to say column span to anything above medium. We'll say col span 3 and row span 2. There we go. Perfect. There we go, you guys. Everything is looking good. Let's look at this on a smaller device. Make sure everything is mobile responsive. You know what? Let's just go ahead and say perfect. Looking good, you guys. Now, one thing that I just thought of, if we click on the home, that's great. We navigate to the home page, but our mobile menu is not closing. So that's why I left this open here. And all we need to do here is come down here to our links. And we have to put this not on the link itself, but on the list item. So again, I'm just going to select multiple spots for us to type in. And what I'm going to say is on click, and then basically we can just run the handle nav function. Because remember, every time we run the handle nav function, it just changes it to its opposite value. So if it's true now, it should close it, and there you go. Perfect. So everything is working properly. There's our contact page, which we're about to do right now, and our work page. We're passing through properties to our hero component. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and knock out this contact page. So I'm going to close that. And so for our contact page, what we can do is we can add in a contact component here as well. So let's go ahead and under our components here, we're going to create a new component. It says contact.jsx. RAFCE is going to get us our functional component here. And let's go ahead and add in our hero here. Okay. So in here, hero, there we go. Perfect. And we need to make sure that this is being imported. And for here, what are we going to pass in through our, we can say whatever we want here. Remember, we're going to type in our heading here, and we'll just say contact. And for our message, we'll say submit the form below for more. Like that. So let's see. Perfect. There it is. Populated. Very nice. And let's go ahead and add in our, whoops. Let's go ahead and add in our contact form there. Okay, perfect. Go contact. and we should have our contact form. Perfect. So let's go ahead and style out our form right now. It's going to be a pretty easy one here. So we're going to have a div here, and inside we have an H1, and it'll say let's work together. And underneath that, we're going to have our actual form, and we don't need an action submit. This form is not actually going to submit, so don't worry about that there. So inside this div, we're going to have 2 inputs. Copy that down. This is going to be a, see what we're doing, placeholder, and we'll say name, and this one can email. Perfect. And outside this div, we're going to have another input. This one can be like email. This one we probably want to say email. This one can be text. Perfect. And then a text area, and we can just say that. Perfect. We don't need a name or ID in this case here. And then also we're probably going to want a button that says submit here. Okay, so that's looking good there. Perfect. Let's go ahead and style this thing. So give a class name max width, and we'll say 1240 pixels. Okay. Margin auto, there we go, and P-4. And I'm going to give this a height of screen just so it gives us a lot of space to deal with here. So for our H1, let's go ahead and say text 2XL, font, bold, text, center, then P-4. There we go. Go, perfect. Now for our form, let's give this class name. For our form, I want to say is max width, and I'm going to give this a max width of 600 pixels, just so it doesn't display the entire width of the screen here. Perfect, that's what we want. And let's go ahead and give our inputs some styling so we can actually see. So let's go ahead and first here, I want to say, when this display is grid, we'll say grid columns 2, then gap 2. So for our inputs, let's go ahead and I'm going to style all of these basically the same here, same with the text area. So let's go ahead and give this a class name. Border, I want to be shadow LG P3, and let's see how that looks. Perfect. That's looking good right there, you guys. And that's going to be all we need to do there. So for this input right here, I want to say width full, just like that there. Perfect. And then for this as well, we'll say, now I want to add in some margin here on this. So I think we used 4, so let's just say MY4. Bump that down. That is looking good. Perfect. And for our button, border shadow large, and then 3. Let's see how that's margin top 2. I'm going to spread this out a little bit. There you go. So let's open this up a bit, you guys. I'm going to close that off. So that is looking pretty good. I like that there. Everything is working properly. All right, you guys, so if you want to learn Next.js, if you want to interested in a portfolio website, I built out a portfolio in Next.js, also a few others as well. So make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you got some value out of this, I'm going to be putting out some more React content and also Next.js. So thanks for watching, you guys. Thanks for following along. I'll see you on the next one.